I say, nope, that's not how this is going. MS is not going to control my life. This is my life. You just so happen to be in it. So I'm going to tell you how this is going to go, because this is my life and you're not going to control it. I'm going to control you. My name is Ashley Simone, and I am an MS warrior.
Smiling on is everything. Get a smiling on is everything. And you fight hard through everything. You don't ask nobody for anything. See the good times even when it rains. Warrior from birth, built it up from the dirt.
I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis back in 2016, and when I was diagnosed, I was going through a really hard time. My official MS journey started off very rough, and I do quote unquote because I believe that I've had MS years prior to my diagnosis. My memory has always been a little shaky. My balance has always been a little shaky. My vision has always been a little shaky. Honestly, everything has been a little shaky for years prior to my diagnosis, but those are actually symptoms of MS, and those were actually some of the first symptoms that I had around the time of my diagnosis. I remember one day we were walking and my leg was just getting super heavy, and I remember my mom telling me that it was because of my shoes. You know what, I wasn't wearing running shoes. I was actually walking in loafers because they're light. So then I did end up wearing my Nike running shoes, and the same thing was happening. So I was like, you know what, it's not, I already knew it wasn't the shoe, but I said, you know what, let me just change the shoe, because sometimes parents always say they're right and sometimes they are, but in this case she just wasn't, you know what I'm saying? And so I changed the shoes and it was still the same thing. I remember it got to a point where I couldn't even make it to the end of my street. Like, I had to turn around, I had to come back home because it was just not even working out for me. It just got to a point where it's like, okay, like, honey, you knew that I wasn't working all the way right. You just knew that this wasn't going to go as planned, so you should have just stayed home. I went to the doctors, did some testing. They said maybe the tingling could possibly be a pinched nerve, because I always did the most. Like, I'm always rearranging my room, I'm always out on the road, I'm always doing a lot of walking, I'm always doing a lot. So a pinched nerve made sense. But they did the nerve test, all my nerves were fine, they were okay, and based on the testing that they did. And it wasn't until we did the MRI that they saw that I had lesions the back of my brain and the top of my spine. And yeah, and that's when MS took over my life. So at the time, he had put me on Copaxone or Copazone. It was a daily injection that I had to give to myself, which I was not pleased with. I don't like needles, let alone giving them to myself. That was the first treatment that I was on, and they say it's not possible for a treatment to make symptoms worse, but the treatment just, like, it didn't put any type of stop to it or slow it down at all. I was on Copaxone or Copazone for, I want to say, about 2 to 3 weeks before my first relapse. I went to St. Michael's for a checkup to meet with a new neurologist, because my previous neurologist, the first neurologist, he wasn't very present. I didn't really speak with him. He wasn't really giving me the rundown about MS and what I should and shouldn't do. Like, I wasn't informed about anything, and all the information that I was getting on this disease was on Google, and you can't always trust Google. I must say that going to St. Michael's was the best thing that I could have done, because they were to start from the beginning. I was diagnosed in October of 2016, and I went without treatment until the end of November of 2016. I don't feel like this treatment itself made my symptoms worse, but I felt like it wasn't doing anything for me. And because my MS was so progressive, I always hear that, you know, people with MS get really bad and, you know, they're not able to basically enjoy life. So that's what I wanted to do before I got to that point. So back in November of 2016, my brother and sister and I decided to go on a vacation to Cuba. Just something small, you know. It was an amazing trip. I do wish that I could have enjoyed it a little more than I had, but being in the heat pretty much 24/7, other than being in the water, it wasn't agreeing with my body. And me being ignorant to the effects of multiple sclerosis, my sister and I decided to turn the AC off in our hotel room because I am not a fan of AC, but multiple sclerosis is, which I did not know. So that is actually when I developed partial paralysis. On vacation, yeah, I actually ended up purchasing my first cane in Cuba. Got my name on there. Got my name on there and everything. Yeah, so that's what led me to purchasing my first cane, and I had to use this cane. I almost had to beat people with this cane because being newly diagnosed to a disease like multiple sclerosis is not easy. And because my first ever major symptoms like partial paralysis happening while I was on vacation around so many people, it really took a toll on me. When I purchased my cane, we went straight to the beach, and there was a group of guys, I remember, they were just saying all these things, and I honestly felt that I wanted to go over to that group of guys and just start beating them with my cane, but I didn't because I just had to keep it together. But yeah, that was the first of many incidences where I wanted to actually tell people about themselves, because what I don't like is people judging. Just because I don't look like I'm sick doesn't mean that I'm not. What does a disabled person really look like? But anyways, when we got back from Cuba, I had called my original neurologist, and because it was Christmas holidays, I called the office and I let them know, like, hey, I can't feel my toes, I can't move my foot, like basically I can't walk. And the receptionist told me that because it's Christmas holidays that I need to call back in January after the holidays. So I wasn't able to see my neurologist. So I called my family doctor, and that is when he got me an appointment at St. Michael's Hospital, where I met my current neurologist. And he said he looked over my MRI and my lesions are very much active and we need to get this under control as soon as possible. So December 22nd, I was admitted into St. Michael's Hospital, and I was there for about a week. They had put me on prednisone, which is a steroid. I was doing physical therapy. They had me doing everything. I had to do, what is that test called? What they remove fluid from your spine. A lumbar puncture. I've done an MRI the day they admitted me and the day that I was discharged from the hospital. I left from the hospital and went straight to rehab. As crazy as it sounds, I had to learn to walk again. I did get a day pass on Christmas Day to be able to spend Christmas Day with my family and not in the hospital. But when it came to New Year's, I did have to spend my New Year's in rehab. Luckily, it was a Catholic rehabilitation center. So down the hall from my room, there was a chapel. So I made my way over to the chapel and I spent New Year's in the chapel alone. Yeah, my rehab experience was nothing like I thought it would be. It was more like a retirement home, I must say. They had told me prior to me their youngest patient was actually 40 years old, and at the time I was only 22. So it's almost like they didn't know how to treat me. It was different. It was different. So that experience was one of very unexplainable. As we were going into the elevator to go into the transport truck, my dad was he was about to come out of the elevator to go to my room. So we all went into the transport truck and they brought me to rehab. And I remember the doctor in the rehab center telling my dad that, you know, your daughter's case is very severe and unfortunately she won't be able to walk without assistance, and she won't be able to get back to the way she used to be after this. We can do the best we can, but she won't be able to. And I remember hearing him tell my dad that, and I told myself, I'm going to walk out of this rehab center. They wanted me to rent a rollator. They wanted me to purchase a walker. They told me all these places where I could buy all these equipment to modify my home to make things easier, like in the shower to get rails, and I told myself, like, I don't need those things. I don't want those things, and I'm not gonna get them because, like, I just simply won't need them. And January 10th, my parents had come to pick me up, and I returned the rollator that I was using in the rehab center to the front desk, and I walked out of rehab. I mean, I was holding on to my dad just in case I didn't lose my balance or whatever, but I walked out of rehab and I made sure that I was getting better, and I made sure I got better. When I got home in January 10th, after everything that I had gone through, my original neurologist, they called me and said, did I still want to see the doctor? Did you still want to see Dr. So-and-so? He's available on this day. Honey, if you knew everything that I went through between the time I called you until now, you and that doctor would lose your license. You would lose everything. That office, that whole practice would be closed down. Like, I could leave the worst review, and which I should have, not to tarnish his name, not out of ill will or, you know, just to make him look bad, but just so that no one else would end up in a situation or similar situation or anything close to what I had gone through or experienced with that doctor, and which I should have, but I didn't, because, you know, I didn't want to make him look bad. I don't know. But yeah, they called me. I just said, no, it's okay, I'm all right. I'm seeing a new neurologist now, but thank you, and I hung up. I went through the physical stages of MS in 2016, but the emotional side of things I went through all of 2017, and 2017 was one of the hardest years for me. Just knowing that I wasn't able to do what I wanted to do or doing anything that I needed to do on my own, it was tough. I'm very independent, so for me to have to depend on others to help me use the bathroom, go in and out of the shower, just little things like that, not being able to go to the kitchen to make myself something to eat, not being able to go work to make money, I like to shop, so not being able to go buy anything, or even just online shopping and go to the door to pick up my package. Like, it was hard on me. So after being discharged from rehab, I started my second treatment, which is Tysabri, in April of 2017, and I've been on Tysabri ever since. Tysabri is an hour-long infusion that I do get once a month, and it has been working very, very well for me. So 2017, like I said, was not the easiest, but in 2018 I decided, like, you know, I spent an entire year in my bed crying for multiple things, and this needs to change. Like, this is not me, this is not who I am. Like, I am a fighter, I am an overcomer, I'm a go-getter, so I needed to make a change ASAP, and that's what I did. I started a business. I started a business in 2018, and I will get further into the business in another video, but you can check that out. I will leave the link to my website down below in the description box. So from 2016 until now, 2020, I can honestly say that my MS journey literally went like this, but now it's on the up and up, and I do pray that it continues to go in that direction, because, you know, life is good. I call myself an MS warrior because warriors are known to be brave, they're known to fight, they're known to overcome their battles, and I can say that I fought this battle and I've definitely overcome any obstacles, any or all obstacles that this disease threw in my direction. A lot of people do tend to allow MS to become bigger than they are, and that wasn't my case at all. I did not want to be swallowed or controlled or taken over by this disease. I wanted to take over the disease itself, and I wanted to take control back of my life. I've allowed this disease to do what it has done to me for long enough, and I am here proudly saying today that I am an MS warrior. Being on an MS journey, or any journey that wasn't planned, it can be tough, and it can be something that you may struggle with overcoming, but I can say that it's something that you can overcome. It is something that you can get over. It is something that you can and you will get through, as long as you put your mind to the things that matter. As long as you think about the positive aspects of everything that you're going through and not focus on the negative, you will be okay. I can't say that I was ever nervous about telling my story, but I can say that I was not 100% comfortable with talking to others about it until I was 100% comfortable with what I was dealing with. I created this channel to simply let others know that there are others going through the same or similar situations as you, and that you're not alone, and that it is possible to overcome something that you thought was going to be end all be all. I'm here to let you know that it gets better. And I know some may say that it's easier said than done, but I say that it gets easier once it's done. I'm still fighting and I'm still overcoming, and you will see more of me and my MS journey. As I said, my name is Ashley Simone. I am a warrior from birth, and this is my MS story. Always making it work.